A very pleasant good afternoon as we welcome you into another edition of the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show. And, Goon has shrunk and gotten much better looking. Congratulations, Goon. Well done. They said he couldn't lose 150 pounds in just a day and a half, but he was able to do it coming off of the weekend, so congratulations to you on that.
No, jogging, cut down on the sugary drinks. Yeah, it's amazing.
It just like that. Chris Bugadani actually filling in for the Dear Goon today, and Booch, lots that we can get into.
There's a lot going on all over the sporting landscape.
There is.
What a contrast to this point last year. You remember that? When you guys were sitting here trying to think of things to fill an hour?
Oh, my gosh. I do recall those days very well. I also do recall Thursday's show, which will forever be remembered by me as the highlight of the beloved Pirates season. We had the Bucco fans were sitting over here to my left, and as we were going off the air, the "Let's Go Bucks" chant was chorusing through the Quaker Steak and Lube establishment here. Good vibes, good feeling. The Pirates go on and win that opening day game, and that is quite possibly the last win the Pirates will have in 2021.
The bad news
could be going 1-161.
Yeah, the bad news I have for you, Ironhead, is I also think the Cubs might stink.
Oh, yes. Yeah, there's that.
So beating them is no big accomplishment, and then losing to them twice is maybe not so good.
No. So the Pirates are now where they rightfully belong. But it was a fun afternoon. I will enjoy that Thursday. It will be embedded in my mind as the highlight of the 2021 baseball season.
My advice to
Pirates fan,
Pittsburgh fans, is take it where you can get it. And remember, the draft is only 26 days away, and I'm sure the Steelers will make a good pick.
Listen, I will say
23 days away.
Exactly right. I will say, the Pirates do have some good young pitchers. The multitude of problems is that they have, again, an ownership group that has zero interest, not even a smidgen of interest in actually producing a championship team. I got into a debate or argument, I don't know what you want to call it, with a buddy. He's like, no, I'm telling you, I'm not saying they don't want to get to a winning point, and I see the path to this team, this organization in a few years being a winning team. I get it. They're building around a very young team overall, and pitching is the key. The issue is if and when they get to that point, as they did several years ago now, then you are a move or two away from being a legitimate World Series contender. The Pirates were never that 3-year run where they were in the playoffs. You never, I get it. You're hoping to catch lightning in a bottle, and that can happen. We've seen that happen. I understand that as far as it goes. But that was not a team that was built to go win a World Series.
Right.
It was close. It was a really good team, but that ownership group had no interest in pulling the trigger on anything that would get them over the hump and truly in contention to win the World Series. And the same thing is going to happen. Yes, I get it that, they're building for the future. This team is, they're not going to win a World Series, folks. This team will be better over the next couple of years, and it might even become very good. It might be a playoff team again. I am telling you, there is no chance, 0% chance, unless this organization gets sold, and I don't, unfortunately, think that's going to happen. There is no chance that this team will win a World Series, and I don't even think, again, maybe we're going to be parsing words here. Being in the postseason, I guess, gives you a chance. They are not going to try to make this a World Series team, a championship team. They would love to get back to the playoffs. They certainly see the profit incentive there and all of that, but they're going to do it as cheaply as they can, hang on to these players for as long as they can before they have to pay real baseball money for them, and then they will wave them goodbye, and they'll start the process over again, and I'll be in the same conversation with my friend. Well, no, but in 4 or 5 years, right. And at what point do you as a fan base say, no, Man, this isn't good enough. The objective should be to go try to win a world championship. I can buy in. The 76ers fans, I can buy into the process if you believe the ultimate objective there for all involved is, yes, we want to go ultimately win it all. And I get there's no guarantee. I'm not saying they have to go win a World Series. I'm saying you have to have some legitimate moves once you're in contention and be willing to open the pocketbook just a bit to go get a big name star, either a big bat or another big starting pitcher or, a closer, if that's what you're missing, whatever it might be, that tells your fans, by God, we are all in. And again, there is no guarantee ever, right? I mean, you've had plenty of teams who have had Gonzaga is a great example. I mean, that team has talent up and down the roster collegiately, and man, just ran into a Baylor team that was clearly the better team tomorrow night. We'll get into that in a moment. But I'm a frustrated Pirates fan because I see it getting better. That's not good enough for me. I'm okay with the rebuilding process. I'm okay with the youth movement if I truly believe that the ultimate objective here is, listen, we are going to do this and get to the point where we are in contention, and then, by God, we're going to go for broke.
If you feel like you're not subsidizing the farm team for the wealthiest AL clubs.
Well, exactly.
Like,
and that's just been an ongoing.
So it was a 3-year stretch, right? They qualified for the postseason 3 straight times.
Yeah.
So if I remember, I think it was the second season where they came up to the trading deadline, and you really felt like they were a move or two away.
Yeah.
And the deadline went by, and they didn't do jack. And at that point, you had to know, as a Pirates fan, it's probably never going to get better than it is right now. And if you're not going to make the move now, you ain't going to do it. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, and then, again, slowly whittled it away, and so be it.
Let me throw an amazing stat at you real quick. Well, you just talk about teams perpetually in rebuilding, trust the process.
Yes.
So the New York Jets traded Sam Darnold to Carolina. They're going to take Zach Wilson, probably the BYU quarterback, number 2 overall. Sam Darnold makes the 6th consecutive now, Ironhead, first-round pick that the Jets have dealt away.
Wow.
They've got like 24 draft picks in the next 2 years. But you can accumulate as many draft picks as you want. If you can't select good talent and coach it up well, then it's going to be perpetual rebuilding mode. But the difference between MLB and the NFL is the NFL has a salary cap.
Yeah.
It has a salary floor. It's got much, much better league-wide revenue sharing than what the MLB has. As you know, like, revenue sharing in Major League Baseball is basically a way for the Pirates ownership to put a few more bucks in their pockets, not reinvesting back in the franchise.
Exactly
it stinks.
Right. It is awful for many franchises, but I think at the top of that list right now, the fans of the franchises, I should say, the franchises. Pirates ownership is perfectly happy and more than content with the situation.
They would love to spend nickels on the dollar, and trip and fall into the second wild card spot.
And if they can create, that opportunity to get back to the postseason, and you see all of the love and the money that pours into the coffers, and then you start the process all over again, and you never have to go all in or commit to trying to actually put out a championship team on the field. And it's just it's discouraging.
The Phillies, on the other hand,
yes,
off to a nice start.
Very nice start. Yeah, and I think, I guess it's all going to depend on your definition of success. But I really do think the Phillies are going to end up above 500 this season. I think they are a team that is built for long-term sustainable success here in this league. And we'll see. I think they will be one of the teams contending, at least into September. I don't think the Pirates are going to be contending by the end of this month. I think by the time Memorial Day rolls around, forget about it. It's all going to be over by then. It may be over before, we turn the chapter and start seeing all those flowers from these April showers.
So if you look at the Phillies situation right now, I agree with you. I kind of thought this was going to be we'll see how the season goes. I viewed them as a marginal playoff contender. I thought a team that would get about 88 wins. So maybe I undershot it a little. I don't know. We'll see. But the ingredients are there, right?
For sure.
You've got a very good manager with World Series experience on his resume. You've got, I think, 3 legitimate potential all-stars in Harper, Real Muto, and Alex Bohm.
Yeah.
And, look, nothing is more disposable than the first month of the regular season in Major League Baseball.
That is a fact.
But I will say about the 4-0 start, it's important, I think, for 3 reasons. First of all, the symbolic good start, I do think, has an ability to create positive impact in your locker room culture.
I agree with you.
So
completely.
That's good. It brings fan investment just as the fans are coming back into the park.
Yes.
And you need those guys. Look, the roster is there. You need these guys to believe. So that's point number 1. Point number 2, all the wins so far against divisional rivals, which is good. If you're going to get the W's, get them in the division. But I think most importantly for Philadelphia, why were they on the outside looking into the postseason last year? Certainly wasn't their offense. It was their historically terrible bullpen.
Yep.
And so far, through 4 games, all W's, only 1 home run. The bullpen has pitched very well, and they have already, listen to this, Ironhead, they have already, in 4 games, exceeded the total number of wins they had last year when the starting pitcher left a tie game.
Is that right?
They had 1 in the 2020 shortened season, and they've got 2 already this season.
Well, that kind of drives home the point of just how awful. Of course, last year the Pirates and Phillies were contending for who had the worst bullpen in Major League Baseball.
It was a race to the bottom in Pennsylvania last year.
Yes, it was. And again, I do like. I mean, there are some things I obviously do like about this Pirates team, and I do think there's some good chemistry that is developing within that team. Again, I am just so discouraged and frustrated by the ownership situation that I can't even enjoy what I'm seeing. And when you are seeing some positive things, and again, we are seeing some positive signs even through the losing, and there's going to be a lot of losing this season, and hopefully there will continue to be some positive signs.
I would think,
in particular, with the young pitchers.
The most frustrating thing, I would think, being if you're a Pirates fan, is that the organization does actually seem to do one of the better jobs in Major League Baseball in terms of developing young talent in its farm system.
Yeah.
But then the problem is you never do one of the 2 things you want to do with that young talent you've developed, which is either lock them up long-term because you don't want to pay their market value when their contract year comes up, or convert those assets into already proven talent because, again, what do you not want to do? Pay for the proven talent.
Yeah.
So, again, you're just hoping you can spend nickels on the dollar and luck into a couple of playoff spots before you got to gut the roster and send these guys to teams that have the money and the ownership willing to spend it.
Yeah, and that's exactly what it is. I will say it is, as a lifelong baseball fan, as jaded as I am about the Pirates, I am genuinely excited about this season overall. And I do, I think we've talked about this. I've been talking about it with a few different people in a few different settings. I know we talked about it here the one day, but I do think we're at a fairly pivotal time, and I know we're talking with Joe Putnam last week or the week before about it, but for baseball, as you know, I think football has clearly surpassed it as America's pastime. But in terms of being a significant factor on the sporting landscape, for a long time, I was of the belief that, no matter how much it slipped, and it might slip, it's still, because it's the only game in town over the summer, it's still going to have a strong foothold. I'm not as convinced that's going to be the case anymore for a wide variety of reasons. One is with the creation of all of the sports channels that are out there, and for that matter, all of the entertainment channels, there was a time up until very recently where even with the number of different options you had for entertainment on the TV or the radio over the summer, it was reruns, right? Like it wasn't new network or the other. Now it's the wide variety of cable and other platforms that are creating new product that you can consume over the summer. That didn't used to be the case. It used to be, everything that was available, and again, this was until pretty recently, I want to say like the last 5 years, that with very, very few exceptions, everything over the summer, content-wise, was for entertainment, was rerun.
Because before you had streaming, everything was appointment-based viewing.
Right.
So why create new content at a time when people are going to be out and about? Right.
And so, baseball had a couple of advantages. One, again, it was each game was a new viewing opportunity or experience. You didn't know what was going to happen. And it was, again, largely the only thing going on in the sports entertainment landscape. But the other thing is now with the creation of all of these, the Major League Baseball network, and now you have, the NFL network and all of these networks that are showing all of these different sports. And I get that baseball is still live, and, for your live sporting event, it's still largely the only game in town. But what is happening is all of these, if you're an NHL fan, you can consume NHL information 12 months a year. To some extent, a much smaller extent, you could always do that, right? I mean, the NFL, for a long time, NFL fans are invested in what's happening year-round. But other sports now are following suit, and I understand Major League Baseball is too. But as the youth are getting turned away from baseball, and they are. I mean, the numbers just tell you that they're not playing in nearly the numbers that they used to, and they're not following the sport in the numbers that they used to. And more are investing in other sports to a greater degree over the course of the year. And I still don't know what to do. I don't like I was listening to a discussion, and I'm going to end up losing out on all of these things, and it's probably for the better in terms of the sport. I like, and I'm one of the few I think anymore that actually does like having the pitcher bat. I like the National League rules and the lack of the designated hitter. I don't see any way that within the next couple of years the designated hitter won't be part of Major League Baseball across the board.
100%.
And
absolutely.
I mean, you just, for all of the obvious reasons, the trying to attract younger fans, you need more offense. From the player standpoint, you want another roster spot. I mean, all of the things
that's the key.
There's everything.
Right there. You talk about contrasting the NFL and the MLB financial models.
Yes,
they are the way they are because the players union in Major League Baseball wields so much more power and influence, and I think that's what's going to tip the scales to the DH in the NL. It's because the players union will want it.
Right. So, and I don't like the put in the runner on second base. That just drives me.
No, I don't like it either.
I like everything being earned. That being said, it is adding. I mean, from a strategic standpoint, I get it. I mean, it's adding, and we're getting the games, over sooner, which is also part of the goal. And again, it's just, I liked that baseball was the one place you could go and still just have, again, time stand still in every regard. The rules were basically the same as when the game started. And again, I personally, and again, and I accept and I get that I'm not, I'm being outvoted and it's overwhelming and it's not close. But I really did. I liked the idea that you could go to a baseball game at 7 o'clock at night and not know whether you were going to be home at 9:30 or at midnight or at 2 a.m. because you just had no idea how long that game was going to go and how it was going to play out. And I liked the leisurely pace. And as I get older and older, I appreciate that leisurely pace of baseball more and more, because you just seemingly can't find it anywhere else pretty much in society.
Yeah.
Everything now is, man, we've got to do, and baseball is trying to follow suit to whatever degree it can. And I think in the process, that is also causing it to lose its identity a bit. And again, I don't have the answer, and I get that they're trying to look to ways to, again, regain that traction with the younger fans, and they probably rightfully believe that, part of that is going to come from more scoring and less sitting around and quote unquote nothing happening, as we talked about last week. That if you're a baseball aficionado or even just a fan, I mean, I wouldn't call myself an aficionado, but I really did and do enjoy watching the strategic aspects of it, and the whole analytics thing fascinates me, and I love watching teams I think overthink things sometimes instead of just letting the guys go out and play the game.
Yes.
But it adds, again, another component, which, I find fascinating, but I don't think many people, and certainly not many younger people, are nearly as intrigued by that. So we'll see. I'm really curious to see kind of what happens here just with baseball and its piece of the pie, if you will, in the sports world and the landscape over the next, decade or so. Because I don't have a good feeling about it, but I would absolutely love to be proven wrong about it.
I think the best hope you have there is that people have been forecasting baseball's doom for about 20 years now.
That's a fact.
And it's still hanging around, but the trend line is still not heading up. I think that's the problem, right?
Yeah, I think so. And I will say, I don't want to get too far down the political track, but my God, what Rob Manfred is doing with Georgia and the absurdity of taking the Major League All-Star game out of the state because of perceived political wrongs. To me, you're opening up. I think it was an extremely poorly thought out. I know it was an extremely poorly thought out decision, as others have already pointed out. I mean, they're looking at Texas. The places that they're looking at have greater voting restrictions than Georgia. The lies that have been told about what is happening in Georgia are kind of breathtaking in the scope and the gullibility of the American people. And it's just, the one thing, and again, I don't want to go too far down this track, but I don't think the bottom line is I don't think baseball is helping itself here. I think baseball thinks it is. And maybe I'm wrong because it's the woke generation. I think there is going to be a fairly quick rebellion against the woke generation, and we're going to get back to sticks and stones may break my bones, that philosophy that many of us grew up with, and being okay with living in a world where people say things that you find offensive. I grew up understanding that there were all kinds of viewpoints and some that I vehemently disagreed with, and you just went about your life. You lived understanding that, that I don't agree with that and I don't agree with this, and so what? Go do you. Now it's, well, no, I can't possibly do me unless you stop doing you. And it just is driving me crazy. And the hypocrisy here and the standards that are being set and then not adhered to with this decision by Major League Baseball, again, I think long term that this does come back and haunt the sport as a whole.
Well, I say it often. If you're a sports journalist or, an athlete or a sports executive, odds are you're probably too dumb to grasp the nuance of public policy. Now, I'm not saying that about everybody, certainly, but writ large, you got to your position professionally by knowing about this thing, which if you need to know enough about it to be able to do it professionally, probably precludes you from being able to make really well-informed, nuanced statements about what's going on in the public policy sphere, because that stuff, and I almost used another word, is complicated, folks, really complicated. But beyond that, look, I don't care about generational differences. It is a human truth that when you have an information economy that's based on riling people up and stoking negative emotions and turning people against each other, that stuff, I almost again used another word, is exhausting.
Yes.
It's tiring. And people turn to their entertainment products to get a break from that. Now, I don't even want to go too far down this rabbit hole because I can already anticipate what some of the pushback would be.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to pick a fight. And that's my point. Not everything is a fight, an opportunity to pick a fight that pits Americans against one another. What was the most viral clip of this past weekend, Ironhead? It was Charles Barkley, right?
Yeah.
And that was a reason. That is a wake-up call that everybody should take their foot off the gas pedal on this thing. And, maybe you don't always have to view every single opportunity to pit people against one another as one you need to take advantage of, because just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Yeah, and I think it is.
And by the way, I'm here on a sports talk show, so I'm including myself in the group of people who is too ill-informed and stupid to tell you what to think about state election law, okay? So please, if you were looking to me to help you form an opinion on that, I have terrible news for you. I am a moron, and so if you're listening to or trusting me, that probably makes you, at least in this limited sense, a moron as well. So
yeah,
there's a lot of good stuff on the web. Google's a thing. Go check it out.
And it is tiresome also, though. It just feels like there's this constant, and this is where I think you really start to get yourself in trouble with any of these sports entities or leagues, is once you set a precedent like this, and the precedent has already been set. I understand that. I mean, this isn't the precedent setter. I get it. But the problem is then anytime anything that a group of people, it doesn't have to be a majority, it doesn't have to be a sizable minority of groups, thinks is outrageous or thinks is wrong, or then you are going to be expected, right? So every grievance now in society, it's, well, apparently the NFL doesn't care about X because they're still playing games in X. And, well, no, maybe they care about it, but they feel like they need to focus on having their teams play football.
Although NFL, if you want to
seize
on this as an opportunity to finally put Atlanta Falcons fans out of their misery, I mean, maybe it might be the merciful thing to do.
Yeah, I don't know. And, when Arkansas passed its law, this feels like Rob Manfred and Major League Baseball, but Rob Manfred in particular, hey, just so you know, virtue signaling over here, I'm better than a lot of people. By God, we're not going to stand by and allow this to happen. Exactly what this is, because again, read through the law. Well, my God, you can't feed anybody in line. Well, no, the parties can't feed anybody in line, just like they can't give you gifts as you're walking into the place. This has long been established precedent. You don't want, I take that back. I do want it, but we're not going to have, the Democratic Party handing the dear Ironhead a beer to be, drunk later. Not, as you're voting, although really at this point, what the hell's the difference? But you can't give people the gifts as they're going in, and that's the whole point of the no food and water. That's one of many examples of how this thing is absolutely being purposely misconstrued by folks in the media and on either side. It just drives me crazy, though, because again, once you start down this rabbit hole, now no matter where they move it, well, this state has this law. I don't think that law is right. Why are you going here? Well, at some point, I mean, all 50 states, I think probably there's probably some lie in all of those states that offends some group of people, or at least some group thinks is not right. And you got to hold these events somewhere still in the United States, kids.
And here we go. We went from talking about the Phillies bullpen, it was great so far,
yeah,
to talking about election law. Something, I mean, quite honestly, like I don't feel well informed or well read enough about to speak authoritatively. And again, if you're looking to me to guide your opinions on that, you're probably somewhat of an idiot. So, sorry.
All right, let's turn to the basketball game. Where are we at time-wise here? We'll let's take a break here. Then we'll talk some basketball and some wrestling as we come back. Of course, the Olympic trials held this past weekend, and the championship game held last night. We'll talk about that and more as we continue with the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show here from Quaker Steak and Lube.
Lion Country Kia is offering exceptional deals on your new Kia during Kia's Command the Season event.
We have a nice selection on the 2021 Kia Sportage with various options and prices as low as $26,800, saving you $3,000. Or if you demand big power and towing capacity, slip into one of the 2021 Kia Sorrentos available on our lot, starting at $32,680.
Discover why Kia drivers throughout the area come to Lion Country Kia or visit online at lioncountrykia.com.
Introducing the new dusted Ghost Pepper at Quaker Steak and Lube. 11,700 SHUs of fire dusted on award-winning wings. Try it, or are you afraid of the heat?
I'm here with Keith Goon Conlon, and you've got a little trip you're cooking up for August. Tell us about it.
So we got 4 or 5 ex-football players, Shane Conlon, myself, Troy Drayton, Justin Krupakis, and Mike Maudie. We're going to go down to Barbados, leave from different airports, 5 days, 4 nights. We got to get our skills ready to go for the football season, so what better way to do it than down in Barbados?
People come along on this trip, what are they going to be doing down there?
Very laid-back atmosphere. We're going to have golfing trips, fishing trips, and then at night, the days are very, very chill, and then at nighttime there'll be cocktail parties and, old viewings of old football games from Penn State. You might be watching the 87 Fiesta Bowl, the 95 Rose Bowl, a private viewing, a viewing for all the people who were on the trip of Saving the Roar, which is the 2012 team documentary. So the biggest thing is it is 100% refundable. LionsLegendsTravels.com. Everything is on there. It's $19.95 a person. There's multiple airports, so check in.
Good stuff, Goon. Lions Legends Travel. Check it out.
Hi, Johnny Broom here. If you're in the market for a new Hyundai or a pre-owned car, truck, van, or SUV, nobody beats a Blaze Alexander deal. But don't take my word for it.
Hey, Goon says tell him Johnny sent you.
Hey, tell him Johnny sent ya.
Tell him Johnny sent ya.
Wait, tell him Juan or tell him Johnny sent ya?
Tell him Johnny sent you.
Here at Bill Pickle's Tap Room, we say,
tell him Johnny sent ya.
And remember,
And we welcome you back into the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show here on an absolutely perfect Tuesday afternoon in the Valley of Happiness.
Just finished cramming my maw full of chicken.
Yeah, I tell you,
that was an impressive feat.
That was impressive.
I did in the radio business. They call it hitting your post.
Yes, indeed.
Just as the clock ran out, I swallowed the last bite.
Goon and I really aren't that familiar with that hitting the post concept of which you speak, but it was impressive and well done by you. And I'm telling you, the variety of wonderful food that they do have here at Quaker Steak and Lube. I'm stuck. I go through my my periods. I love the wings constantly. I am absolutely just hooked on the steak salad right now. It is. It has become my go-to, but man, the appetizers, you can't go wrong. I mean, you really cannot go wrong.
Now you can actually sit at the bar here in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania.
Crazy concept. I know. Yeah, that's the other thing with baseball too. There are people completely worked up about the Texas Rangers and the. I saw fans sitting without any mask. Well, yeah, they were eating the food, and
I didn't even see this one.
Don't. If it don't go to the Rangers games if it bothers you. I don't allow anybody that attends the Rangers games to visit your grandparents. God bless you. But quit trying to run everybody else's life. Could we just try that? Maybe just focus on your life. Don't worry about what other people are saying or doing, even if it offends you, even if you completely disagree with it. Just go about your day. Conduct your business the way you see fit. And I think we would be much better off as a society if we would all just do that. That being said, Baylor last night, it was one of those things. I was struggling to stay up and was dozing in and out in the first half. And then for whatever reason, I woke up at halftime, full bore, ready to go. I'm like, let's see if Gonzaga can make a run. Ready to go, watch the entire second half. I was, in fairness, I think part of my days in the first half, I was flipping back and forth with the Pirates game.
That'll do it.
It's
the cure for insomnia.
Yeah, it was another tough night for the Buccos. But I will say that was a really impressive, consistent performance by Baylor. But there were a couple of things that stuck out to me. Well, actually, let me start with one non-basketball related. I loved the Star-Spangled Banner and the version of the national anthem with all of the military folks. I thought it was fantastic and well done. Basketball-wise, in the pregame, I think they were kicking this around a little bit, and as I was thinking about leading in a tip-off, I'm like, and I'm not sitting here telling you I predicted this, because anybody that knows me knows there's no way I would have predicted right the winner and how that was going to go. And you'd be right. So I'm not saying that. But they were kicking around in their pregame show is there a chance Gonzaga got too hyped up with the semifinal victory? I mean, that was such a big shot. And I got to thinking about it, and they were kind of just dismissing. It's like, well, no, this is and I think they asked Mark Few about it before the game, the Gonzaga head coach, and he's like, listen, this is a national championship game, and said all the things that you would want a coach to say in that situation. But I got to thinking about it, and Baylor was completely in control of that game with Houston. I mean, there was never, like the game last night, there was never a point in that game where you're like, I think Houston's going to win this, right? I mean, it was like, I don't know if Houston's ever going to get close, and they never really did. And so I think Baylor, and it's a subtle thing, and I'm not going to sit here and tell you that, this was the difference in the game. But didn't it feel, as you're watching that game, Gonzaga just looked tired. It looked like they had hit a wall. To me. And they just did not seem to be playing with the energy you would expect a team to play with in the national championship game. And I think they had been routing everybody all season long, right? And then they get into that game, and the emotion of, the physical exhaustion of going to overtime and expending the extra energy there, but then that emotional draining following a shot like that and the celebration, rightfully, I'm not saying anybody did anything wrong, right? How are you not going to rightfully celebrate that shot and the opportunity to go play for the national championship off of it? But I do wonder if it just did take a little starch out of them. It was such a big moment, and it felt like a championship moment, right? I do wonder if that wasn't given enough credence heading into the championship game in terms of what it may have taken out of Gonzaga. And again, it's a combination. I think physically, right? That's the first time they really had to push hard for an entire game plus.
Yeah.
So I think that there was that component, and then 2 nights later you're back at it against a team that is
against one of the most balanced teams in college basketball.
Yeah, and really is in your face just nonstop. I mean, you are going to work for anything you get against that Baylor defense for sure. And I think that emotional and physical toll from Saturday night, it seemed to me anyway, just took a little something out of Gonzaga, because they just never felt like they were ready to make that run. I mean, you kept thinking, at some point they're going to, but then at that 16-minute mark of the second half, I'm like, I don't think they're going to. Like, it just doesn't feel like it's coming. And you realize it still could, and they, every now and then they'd drain a shot. It's like, well, maybe, and they'd get a defensive stop. But man, they were just never able to put anything consecutively together that really had you believing they were going to get back in this thing.
Yeah, well, so I was reminded today, it was not that long ago that this Baylor program was facing Penn State in the finals of the NIT.
Yep.
Let me see how that went after that. Inflection point for both programs. But I've been a Baylor believer all year long. We did our bracket show with me and Goon and Mike the Mailman, and largely they were a disaster. Certainly Mike deserves credit for getting 3 of the Final 4 right.
Yes, indeed.
But I'm going to pat myself on the back of my Mike Schmidt shirt right now and say that I was the only one of the 3 who had Baylor winning the title. And I was not really surprised by the result last night. I was actually a little surprised that Gonzaga was a 4-point favorite going in, because if you look at their quadrant of the bracket, they had kind of a glide path going in. And all due respect to UCLA, what a great run by them. That was a super fun team to watch. I was kind of thinking watching last night, man, I would love to see that UCLA team with their speed and athleticism and ability to hit threes. I would like to see them up against Baylor right now. But they were a play-in team that the Zags needed a miracle shot to beat in regulation. And they get to the championship game, and who are they facing? One of the best teams in the country, who has excelled, only lost 2 games, playing in one of the most rugged conferences from the past season. I don't know. I felt like Baylor, in my mind, was the favorite coming in, and they played like it.
Yeah, there's no question. I mean, from the start, right? They jumped out to the big lead, and it just never. It never had the feel of a competitive championship game. It just, from start to finish, again, Baylor was just clearly the better team in every facet of the game, really. I mean, there wasn't even an area where you're like, well, if Gonzaga can just do this and focus on that. I mean, Baylor rebounded better, shot better, played better defense. I mean, whatever, penetrated better. I mean, that's just it's a really good team. The one thing, it felt like Gonzaga was pressing a little bit too in that second half, like trying to force some things.
Sure.
Baylor just never got out of its comfort zone. Like every player on that team, and I think they talked about it a little bit throughout the broadcast, but they all, and I'm not saying the Gonzaga players don't understand their roles and again, that is a terrific team that I think had an off night, but I think even with an on night, I think Baylor was the best team in the country.
That team was like a Swiss watch during the tournament. And the one thing I noticed watching them during the regular season, which is why I picked them to go all the way, is they have the uncanny ability to, when they start to get hot, if offensively, that is when they will absolutely choke the life out of you defensively on the other side of the floor. Like, they pair up their offensive runs with their most suffocating defense. So you're getting chewed away at both ends. And then before you know it, you're down double digits like Gonzaga was last night. And then that's when you start pressing. And it's like you're in quicksand at that point.
Well, and I do think getting that quick start was a key. And again, Baylor was going to win the game, I think, in my mind, no matter what, last night. But I think getting that quick start, because of the way Baylor plays defense, and to your point with when they get hot, it just goes like that. It just felt, again, like Gonzaga was a tired team, I think, both emotionally and physically coming in, And then again, it was about 4 minutes into the second half. I'm like, I just don't. I don't see.
Yeah.
Again, never say never, but it just did not feel like this was because there are games you're watching, right, where you're like, man, I know it's a 15-point lead, but man, you can see that this team, boy, if they just get a couple of things and it didn't have that feel. Baylor just felt completely in control, and it felt like Gonzaga had to work its tail off every time just to get to within 10. Like it looked like you could feel it physically and emotionally draining them. I mean, it was emotionally and physically draining watching them try to chip back into this thing. And it was like to take 5 points, shave 5 points off of the lead felt like a Herculean feat. And whew, man, we accomplished it. Well, yeah, but now you're still down by 9, dude. Yeah. You're down by 11, whatever it was. And it just, you never, at least at watching it, I mean, I never had the sense, certainly in that second half, that at any point they were going to be able to come back. And again, it was a combination of, I just think Gonzaga hit a wall, but I also do believe Baylor was the best team. And again, I think they had the right recipe against not only Gonzaga, against anybody to win the championship. That team just can beat you so many different ways. And I do think when they are playing the way they were last night at that level, again, it is just a monumental achievement to try to get a couple of baskets in a row against them, because you have to do things so well at both ends of the court to make that happen. That again, once they get a double-digit lead, it just it feels like more of a 20 or 25 point lead against just about anybody else in college.
Then frustration starts to set in, which means they're in your head. And I'll tell you what, they know they're in your head, and that's what makes them so good. So, all right, I want to get to the Olympic trials, so I want to leave a little time here. Yep. Alan, by the way, making a good point. The women's final was really exciting, too. Did not turn out the way I was hoping it would. I think you can probably get on board that I did not want a feather in the Stanford Athletic Department's cap.
I'm with you 100% on that.
But, yeah, exciting tournament and exciting final for the women, too. But I want to throw a question at you, Ironhead. Okay, so Baylor wins a championship in basketball now. Does that mean that this is a stopping point for Scott Drew? He just proved he can win a championship at Baylor, which is, that rarest of things in college revenue sports, a first-time championship program.
Yeah.
Do you think that's the kind of place that he puts down roots, or is he still top of the list for every big blue chip job that comes open?
Well, I think, we'll see how the next season goes, but I think if Penn State opens up the pocketbook the way you would expect them to next year, I'm just screwing around. Listen, the issue is going to become whether Baylor is going to open up the purse strings enough. Because there's no question, right, that the big time programs are going to become will come calling, and there are a couple of things that come into play, and I don't know Scott Drew well enough. I will say, man, that dude just comes across, and again, I don't know him from. I'm not sure I could have named him before this season, to be perfectly honest with you. And I don't follow college basketball closely, so don't rip my head off for that. It's just not a household name for me. And again, there was a time when I followed it much more closely than I do now, but I don't follow it closely. I'm a very casual fan. But that dude comes across, and again, I don't know with any certainty anything I'm saying. I'm just telling you the way he presents himself. Man, he comes across as a really humble guy, a guy that understands kind of the role of athletics in life and within intercollegiate athletics and the scope of things here. He just seems to have a really good perspective. And sometimes a guy like that, and you go back to Joe Paterno and the opportunities he had in the early 70s, and he certainly turned away bigger money. And again, I think it was twofold. One, I think he genuinely wanted to continue the grand experiment here at Penn State and see it through. But I also do think part of it was the security, and he was smart enough to realize the cachet he had built up, right? He wasn't going to need to have, and he obviously went on and had an unbelievable, historically great career. But, he knew if he took the Jets job or the Patriots job, that, it would, you win within the next couple of years, or you might be out and you don't know what other opportunities are going to come up.
Rumor has it it's a league where you can get fired within 3 years of winning the Super Bowl.
Quite possibly. I've heard those rumors. And I think he understood that the security and the long term, if this is where he wanted to stay. And I think for Scott Drew, it's right. If he wants to stay at Baylor, he's going to be there the rest of his life. If that's what he wants. I mean, that championship, I'm exaggerating a bit. I get it. If they have back-to-back losing seasons in a couple of years, they'll be running him out of town as well. I get it. But, he has a good thing going, and I don't think they're going anywhere away from the spotlight anytime soon. And again, it's not like he has to be winning championships every year to keep his job or be in contention even every year at a place like Baylor. So, the question is going to be, to me, how hungry is he to prove himself at a school that has a big-time tradition?
Right.
And understanding the pressures that come with that, right? I mean, you can get the big-time contract, but boy, it is going to be you need to win and win big right away. He seems grounded enough and has enough perspective that I think even if that didn't go well, he'd be okay. And listen, financially, right, he's probably okay as it is.
I think he'll be all right. Yeah.
But it will be interesting to see. Because again, if he wants, he can carve out a legacy that will never be matched in Waco, right? I mean, I think it's hard to see him being anything but successful in Waco long term.
He turns him into a perennial contender, wins another title. I mean,
my God,
you're not talking about a legacy in Waco. You're talking about a legacy in the sport, because it is so hard at this point in college football, especially, but also in college basketball. It is so hard to build a consistently contending program from the ground up.
Yep. No question.
And now he has that opportunity because he's got the ring.
Yeah. Again, not knowing anything about him, just listening to the way he was talking and the way he relates to those kids, I could be completely 100% wrong. I usually am with these things. So, but it feels like he's a guy, and Baylor's going to pony up, right? I mean, I'm not saying they're going to pay the millions and millions, but
it's an athletic program in Texas. They're going to pay.
Yes, he's going to be able to make generational money staying at Baylor long term, and I think the appeal of that to me would be pretty strong.
Sure.
And again, just listening to him and watching the way he handled and conducted himself in this championship run, it just seems like that is a pretty good fit to me. So I would be surprised, certainly not shocked, but I'd be surprised if he goes anywhere else anytime real soon, because, again, I think he has a chance to build. Well, he's already built something special. I think he has a chance to sustain a really big-time program there at Baylor. And, again, he's got tremendous resources within that athletic department. Obviously, you're in very fertile recruiting territory, and I think now, it's going to be one of the hot spots for college basketball recruits all over the country. I mean,
sure.
That is now one of the places you see the way he coaches and the success he's had, and again, that just tends to build upon itself. And we've seen coaches have moved and had success, but coaches have moved and not had success. And it's, how much do you want to gamble with that in the pursuit of, making and I really don't know. I don't know how sometimes people view it because in my mind, the difference between $4 and $5 million or even $4 and $7 million, man, to me, once you get to multi-million dollars, we're good. I'm fine, and to me, having the comfort level there in Baylor and the security with that, and the full backing, right? I mean, I can't imagine there's anybody right now associated in any way with Baylor Athletics who isn't 100% on board. No matter where he goes elsewhere, right, there's going to be a portion. I thought it was interesting last night when they were talking about the North Carolina hire. It's like, well, we needed a North Carolina guy. Well, Scott Drew goes somewhere and he's not right out of the gate. You're going to be a small portion, at least. It's going to be like, yeah, but he's not really. And do you want to deal with all that, or do you want to just be the star in town, continue building and having fun doing what you're doing?
Yeah, I'm with you.
I think there's a lot to be said for staying. If I'm Scott Drew, and I'm not looking at all the things he is, I don't know, all of the factors that he's taking into account, but seems to me that's a pretty good spot for him to stay long term.
No, I'm with you. And selfishly, as a fan, I think it's good for the sport to have
I do too.
More and new faces. So I think that's good. Okay, so wrestling, Ironhead. Should we just change the name of the Nittany Lion Wrestling Club to Team USA? Should we move USOC headquarters to Lamont? What do you think?
I'll tell you, it was a great showing. I've had a couple people ask me about Zane, and my heart goes out to Zane. And I don't want to get listen, everybody has stuff they're going through. And so, in all of society, people have, and I'm not sitting here telling you Zane's going through stuff that's, horrendous in the overall scope of things. But I'm just telling you that there were some things going on with Zane that affected his performance. And
he's how old now?
And he's, oh my gosh, what is he? 27, 28.
So he conceivably.
Oh yeah, I think he will. Well, especially. The one thing, a bunch of things that were fascinating to me coming out of it. But yeah, let's backtrack real quick. Nittany Lion Wrestling Club does have 3 through on the men's freestyle side in Thomas Gilman, the Iowa product, who's now at the Nittany Lion Wrestling Club, Kyle Snyder, the Ohio State product, who's now with the Nittany Lion Wrestling Club, and David Taylor, who, of course, wrestled at Penn State and beat fellow Nittany Lion Bo Nickel in the best of 3 championship series. Nickel had an unbelievable tournament going into that, getting the big throw against Zahid Valencia, which was just one of those highlight moments when he caught the head and hipped over and got the big points and exposure at the end to win that.
In that world, Ironhead, because I have no idea. Was that an upset?
Yeah, it was. And it's one of those things. Upset is always a relative term.
Yeah, sure.
Excuse me. I don't think anybody was absolutely shocked by it. I mean, it wasn't like, man, out of nowhere, Bo Nickel wins this. But Nickel was moving up a weight class. And, Valencia was, if I'm not mistaken, was the one in the mini tournament, was the 1 seed.
Okay.
And I think Nickel was the 5 seed going in. So certainly by seed, it was an upset. And, with Nickel's style, again, I don't think you're ever shocked that he can he's proven he can wrestle with anybody anywhere. And he had his heart set, obviously, on being the Olympian, an Olympic representative. I'm not too I've had a bunch of people reach out to me and say, man, is there bad blood there between Taylor and Nickel? I wouldn't read too much into that. These guys pour their heart and soul into this. You don't know if this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. I've had a couple of people reach out and say, well, Bo knows in 3 years. He doesn't know. Nobody knows. You don't know. Injuries, life fact, all kinds of things can occur. I will say the fact that we are only going to have 3 years between this Olympics and 2024, I think does change the dynamic a bit for all involved. And I think you're going to see more stay in the Olympic cycle here than you normally would.
Sure.
Because of that. And for example, I'm really curious to see what Jordan Burroughs does. He did not throw his shoes in, and he talked about this. This isn't the last you'll see of him. Now, that doesn't mean he's going to continue wrestling competitively necessarily. I mean, there's a bunch of ways that he can continue to impact the sport. And when he says you haven't seen the last of me, again, it doesn't necessarily mean competitively, but I think a lot of people took it as that. And it will not shock me if Jordan Burroughs says, man, I want to get back there and I can commit for 3 more years. That being said, that's 3 more years, man. In this sport, it just requires physical and mental discipline unlike anything else out there. So it will be interesting to see. But I do think you're going to have a lot of guys that maybe would have been more inclined to hang it up after last year in 2020 if they didn't make the Olympic team. And I know like Frank Molinaro did hang it up this past weekend, and what a great career he's had, and he's going to continue to make an impact in the sport and in others' lives moving forward for sure. But I think you're going to see more guys decide, you know what, I can stick with this for 3 more years in that quest now. And I think that 2024 trials here at the Jordan Center is going to be some really wild stuff, because I thought this was a really deep U.S. team. I do think in 3 years it's going to be even deeper, even if there are some retirements and there's some guys that I'm expecting. But I don't necessarily think like Kyle Dake's going anywhere. David Taylor, if he wins Olympic gold, is going to be interesting to me, because there's no question he's I think he has a family now. I think he's certainly had an eye, and obviously with the club that he has locally, coaching is clearly the path that he's heading down. Okay. And I think if he, again, I haven't talked to him about this, and I could be completely wrong, but I'm anticipating that, especially if he wins gold, that this will be it for him competitively. Just again, because I don't know if people fully understand or appreciate just how much of a sacrifice it is in terms of, again, diet, time away from your family, doing everything right. I mean, it is, there are cycles in terms of your sleep, your diet, weight training, everything else. And, once you win Olympic gold, I think it's pretty easy, especially when you have a family, as David does now, to say, okay, it's time to look at other things. Now, we've had, Bruce Baumgartner went to, 4 or 5 Olympic Games. Kyle Snyder, I think, will be back in the 2024 cycle, regardless of what happens this year. So, I'm not saying that you can't remain motivated or on top of your game. Jordan Burroughs has done it. But I think they're different guys, different circumstances, but it was a great showing by the Nittany Lion Wrestling Club, and I think Nick Lee obviously just took the field by storm there, and was really fun to watch and see. The Jaden Cox situation was unfortunate. He didn't make weight, and apparently, I'm still not sure I completely understand it, but some sort of a mix-up with the time, which is for a wrestler as experienced as him, it's just very strange. I mean, it's not unheard of, but boy, it's pretty uncommon, especially for a wrestler that elite and that experienced to have that issue. And very unfortunate, but it made the path a little smoother for Kyle Snyder, that's for sure. Colin Moore is terrific, but he is not in Jaden Cox's or Kyle Snyder's class just yet, at least when it comes to freestyle. But yeah, it was a fun tournament, fun weekend. I did love, and sentimental Ironhead comes out here, but Kyle Dake taking the time to console Jordan Burroughs and really thank him. Kyle thanking Jordan for being the driving force for Kyle getting better and perfecting his game here over the last several years is pretty special stuff, because no matter what level you're at in the sport, that there's something that's going to drive you, and having somebody like Jordan Burroughs be the driving force where you've got to get to his level, that's pretty special stuff. And I think that relationship there was pretty neat to see how that played out. And again, your heart goes out to Jordan Burroughs, who, in my mind has been the face of USA Wrestling here for the last decade. Sure. And Kyle Dake is certainly, ready to take over that mantle here for U.S. wrestling. And, obviously already a legendary figure in the sport, but even more so if he can go out and win Olympic gold here in Tokyo. But I'm really excited to see what this U.S. team can do across the board. Again, I focus more on the men's freestyle, but the women's team I think is going to be outstanding as well. And the Greco-Roman squads I think will be very, very competitive as well. But I think this U.S. Freestyle team has a real shot to get 4 or 5 medals, and I think at least contend for probably 3 or 4 golds, which is pretty significant stuff when you're talking about the Olympic Games. So should be a lot of fun this summer, and it was a really entertaining weekend for those of us that were wrestling fans. Saturday night was exhausting, going back and forth between the basketball and the wrestling. It was a fun night as a sports fan to be able to tune in and soak in as much as that as we could. I think that'll do it. I'm exhausted. I need some wings.
You're in the right place.
We will be back on Thursday. We will talk to you then. Until then, be good and be safe.
Lion Country Kia is offering exceptional deals on your new Kia during Kia's Command the Season event.
We have a nice selection on the 2021 Kia Sportage with various options and prices as low as $26,800, saving you $3,000. Or if you demand big power and towing capacity, slip into one of the 2021 Kia Sorrentos available on our lot, starting at $32,680.
Discover why Kia drivers throughout the area come to Lion Country Kia or visit online at lioncountrykia.com.
Introducing the new dusted Ghost Pepper at Quaker Steak and Lube. 11,700 SHUs of fire dusted on award-winning wings. Try it, or are you afraid of the heat?
I'm here with Keith Goon Conlon, and you've got a little trip you're cooking up for August. Tell us about it.
So we got 4 or 5 ex-football players, Shane Conlon, myself, Troy Drayton, Justin Krupakis, and Mike Maudie. We're going to go down to Barbados, leave from different airports, 5 days, 4 nights. We've got to get our skills ready to go for the football season, so what better way to do it than down in Barbados?
People come along on this trip, what are they going to be doing down there?
Very laid-back atmosphere. We're going to have golfing trips, fishing trips, and then at night, the days are very, very chill, and then at nighttime there'll be cocktail parties and, old viewings of old football games from Penn State. You might be watching the 87 Fiesta Bowl, the 95 Rose Bowl, a private viewing, a viewing for all the people who are on the trip of Saving Your Roar, which is the 2012 team documentary. So the biggest thing is that it's 100% refundable. LionsLegendsTravels.com. Everything is on there. It's $19.95 a person. There's multiple airports, so check in.
Good stuff, Goon. Lions Legends Travel. Check it out.
He's not getting that car in there.
No, sir.
Hey, look at these 2 troublemakers.
Johnny, how are you?
Wicked car. Is that new?
Yeah, it's a Sonata. Let me park it.
Oh, you're not fitting your car in there.
Chris, stop being a smarty pants, all right? Look who's got Smart Park. Even Bruiser can park it. Just hit the clicker. I can park it anywhere.
Beaver Stadium.